This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital.
Good morning and welcome to Strictly Business for Monday, May the 18th, 2015. I'm Nathan Ollie, the Manager of Government Affairs at the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Coming up on today's show, we'll have Marcella Ives. Marcella is the Senior Market Manager of Community Engagement for the American Cancer Society, and she'll be here to discuss what impact Bakersfield's recent Relay for Life has had on our community. Then we'll be joined by Bob Meadows. Bob is the Vice President and Manager of Mission Bank's Riverwalk Business Banking Center, and he's here to explain why it's important to have personal banking for your business. And finally, we'll have Amber Chang, Director of Marketing and Public Relations at Bakersfield College. And Amber will be here to explain the art of balancing several social media platforms for your business and what else you can learn at the Chamber's upcoming social media therapy session. But first, let's take a look at some business news you can use. State revenue totals have continued to defy projections. The State Comptroller's Office says incoming tax revenue is now $3.4 billion above January's estimates. Personal income tax is driving the additional revenue, coming in at $2.7 billion more than projections. State officials say most of the additional money will head to public schools and community colleges. In other state news, the governor has released his May budget revise. The extra revenues that we mentioned before have allowed Governor Brown to send more money to schools, community colleges, and UC and CSU schools statewide as part of his $115.3 billion budget plan unveiled last Thursday. The budget plan also called for a new tax credit aimed at reducing poverty statewide. More funding will head to prisons, Medi-Cal, and high-speed rail and other transit projects as well. Now that the governor has issued his budget proposal, the state legislature has until midnight June 15th to approve a balanced budget plan. Also in Sacramento, pay raises were approved for the governor and state lawmakers, this according to the Associated Press. The Citizen Compensation Committee has approved a 3% salary and benefit increase for top elected officials and state lawmakers. It's the third straight year of raises for state leaders in California, and the commission says that the pay increases are to make up for cuts elected officials faced during California's recent budget crisis. In job news, California has enjoyed one of the strongest job growth rates since the recession. A Pew Charitable Trust study found that California has added 1.87 million jobs since the state's employment bottomed out in 2010. That number pushed California into the top 5 states across the country with the strongest job rates since the recession. However, the study also found that California still has one of the nation's highest unemployment rates, due mainly to the global financial meltdown and the housing industry implosion. Also in Sacramento, the Sacramento Bee reports that farmers could see their water rights curtailed, and that the State Water Resources Control Board is now turning their attention to state agriculture. The board said it issues to expect curtailment orders soon to the state's most senior water rights holders. The last time those rights were shut down was during a drought in the 1970s. However, a timeline has not been issued on when the Water Resources Control Board would make such a decision. In education, California's graduation rate still needs some improvement. That, according to the Sacramento Bee, reports that a new study has found that although the state's high school graduation rate has improved in recent years, it's still lagging behind the national average. California Superintendent of Schools Tom Torlakson says the graduation rate came in at 80.8% in 2014. That number is still a few points below the national average. Torlakson said the state is looking for new ways to meet a national push to increase the graduation rate across the country by 90% to 90% by 2020. In travel, airlines are facing more complaints from passengers, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation, which reports that it received more complaints from customers in March than it did in February or in March of 2014. Frontier Airlines had the most complaints, with its passengers 34% more likely to complain than a national average, as in Spirit Airlines came in as the second worst for complaints. The airline with the least complaints, Southwest Airlines. And finally, this morning, the NAPD breaks ground on a new center for the disabled that, according to the Californian, They're reporting that New Advances for People with Disabilities has broken ground on a $4.1 million center on Britton Street. The center will house a day program that provides a creative learning environment for over 180 adults with developmental disabilities. The center is expected to open in spring of 2016. And that's a look at some business news making headlines around the state and around the country this morning. We'll take a break and be right back with more Strictly Business right here on Bakersfield.com. Stick with us.